Hello, friends, and welcome to my biology online class for class 10. Today we shall study lesson 9 Heredity and Evolution. In this video, we shall discuss the topics evolution, acquired and inherited traits, theory of natural selection, and origin of life on earth. I am Kirti Shrivastava, PGT Biology, KV number 3, Jhansi. Variations arising due to reproductive processes keep accumulating over successive generations in living organisms for a long period of time and result in evolution. The term evolution has been derived from a Latin word evolvere, which means to unroll or unfold. Evolution can therefore be defined as a sequence of gradual changes which takes place in primitive organisms over millions of years, in which new species are produced. Since evolution is taking place in living organisms, it is called as organic evolution. Thus, organic evolution is a constant process of gradual changes occurring in organisms since origin of life that has given rise to enormous variety of complex organisms on this earth. Let us now understand how evolution occurs with the help of an illustration. A group of 12 red beetles live in a green leafy bush and increase their progeny by reproducing sexually. This generates variations among their population. Their population now grows in different manners depending upon the three different situations illustrated in figure 9.7. Situation 1 shows that evolution is being directed by natural selection, as in this situation, green color variation provides a survival advantage to the beetle population. The topmost row of the illustration 9.7 depicts a group of 12 red colored beetles, which on reproducing sexually produce their progeny in which a green color variation arises. The progeny multiplies further and more number of green and red color beetles are produced. The green color of the beetles help them in camouflaging with the green leafy bushes and therefore provides a survival advantage over red colored beetles which are visible to the predator birds and are eaten away by them. The progeny of the red beetle therefore decreases gradually, while that of the green beetle increases as they are adapted to fit better to that environment. The frequency of certain genes, in this case, the gene controlling green color, changes over generations as they are better adapted to this particular environment. Hence, they multiply and flourish in comparison to the red beetles which gradually disappear. Thus, we see that natural selection directs evolution in this situation. Situation 2 shows that evolution is directed by genetic drift. Let us try to understand situation 2 by observing the middle row in illustration 9.7. In this situation, a blue color variation arises as a result of sexual reproduction along with red colored beetles. This beetle also passes this blue colored variation to its progeny, which then increases in size along with the progeny of red beetles. But in this case, the blue color variation does not provide a survival advantage to the beetle in the existing environment, and hence both type of beetles are visible to the predators and are equally eaten by them. At this juncture, an elephant comes and stamps on the bushes where the beetles live. Consequently, most of the beetles get killed. By chance, most of the beetles which survive are now blue colored. The population of the blue colored beetles therefore gradually expands and contains more number of blue colored beetles over a period of time. Thus, in this situation, alteration of gene frequency from red to blue color is due to the elimination of genes for a red color trait, which is a very small population. Had the red colored beetles population been very large, the accident could not have caused such major havoc. Thus, when a section of species population dies due to natural calamity by chance, the phenomena is called as genetic drift, and in this situation, evolution is directed by genetic drift. Situation 3 differs from the above two situations as the variations produced in size and weight of the beetles are not inherited over generations. Such kind of variations are called as acquired trait and do not depict evolution. Observe the last row of illustration 9.7. In this situation, as the beetle population starts expanding by sexual reproduction, a plant disease spreads, resulting in the decrease in the amount of leafy material in the bushes. Hence, the expanding population is poorly nourished, and consequently, the average weight of an adult beetle decreases to adapt them to the existing environment. With the passage of time, the plant disease gets eliminated and the beetles get adequate food and regain their original weight and size. Thus, this situation depicts the acquired trait and does not show evolution, as here the variation in the phenotype or body weight are due to starvation. There is no change in the genotype or genetic structure or DNA, and therefore the variations are not inherited over generations. We shall now discuss acquired and inherited traits. A trait or characteristic which is not inherited but developed or acquired by organisms during their lifetime by bringing changes in the non reproductive tissues in response to the environmental factors are now called acquired traits. They do not bring any changes in the genetic makeup or DNA and hence cannot be inherited by the progeny over generations. This is what we have observed in situation 3 of illustration 9.7, where small size and low weight in some generations of beetles due to starvation cannot be inherited by the progeny over generations and therefore is an example of acquired trait. Experiences achieved during lifetime are another good example of acquired trait and cannot direct evolution. Yet another example of acquired trait was explained by August Weismann. He cut tails of 22 generations of mice, but still all the succeeding generations developed long tail trait. He disproved Lamarck's evolution theory of acquired characteristics. Here are some more examples to illustrate acquired trait. Children learning to read, a bird learning to fly, a horse learning to stay away from an electric fence. All are examples of acquired trait. Let us now understand what are inherited traits. If variations or changes occur in genes or DNA present in gametes. They can be passed from one generation to the other and are called as inherited traits. Inherited traits or characteristics are therefore controlled by specific genes. For example, skin color, eye color, height of the plant, color of the flower, and form of the seed are all inherited traits. The diagram below shows inherited traits of attached earlobe and free earlobe in humans. Some more examples to illustrate inherited traits are that of the rolling tongue and widow's peak found in humans. Let us now list the differences between inherited traits and acquired traits. Firstly, inherited traits are obtained from parents, whereas acquired traits are developed during lifetime of an individual. Secondly, inherited traits are a kind of genetic variations, whereas acquired traits are a kind of somatic variations. Thirdly, inherited traits are developed due to crossing over and mutations, whereas acquired traits are developed due to use and disuse of organs and direct effect of environment. And lastly, inherited traits are passed over generations from one generation to the other, whereas acquired traits finish or die with the death of an individual. Several theories have been put forward to describe the process of evolution. One such popular theory is the theory of natural selection given by an English naturalist, Charles Robert Darwin, who gave the concept of organic evolution for the first time. Charles Robert Darwin was an English naturalist who set out on a 5-year voyage at the age of 22 in the year 1831 in his ship HMS Beagle to South America and Galapagos Islands. During his expedition, he made extensive observations on plants, animals, a huge variety of life, and similarities among organisms and their adaptations to environment. When he returned back from his voyage, he formulated his observations in the form of theory of evolution in his famous book The Origin of Species. His theory is popularly called as a theory of natural selection as it suggests that the best adapted organisms are selected by nature to pass their traits to the next generation. It is also called as the theory of survival of the fittest. His theory explains how life evolved from simple to more complex forms. Darwin's theory of evolution tells us how life evolved from simple to more complex forms, and Mendel's experiment give us the mechanism or pattern of inheritance of traits from one generation to the next. But neither of them tell us anything about how life began on earth in the first place. JBS Haldane and Alexander Oparin suggested that life must have originated from simple inorganic molecules which were present on primitive Earth. These molecules might have originated on Earth through a long series of physiochemical changes to more complex organic molecules that were brought about by first chemical evolution. This gradual change or development of complex forms from simpler forms is called organic evolution. He speculated that the atmosphere on the primitive Earth was highly reducing and oxygen in molecular form was not available. The energy for the formation of the molecules must have come from the reflected solar radiations, lightning, and volcanic eruptions. Haldane and Oparin's theory of origin of life was supported by Stanley L. Miller and Harold C. Urey in 1953, who conducted an experiment in support of their theory. They created an atmosphere similar to that which existed on early Earth, containing hydrogen, ammonia, methane, hydrogen sulfide, and water vapor, but no oxygen over water in an airtight apparatus, which was maintained at a temperature just below 100 degrees Celsius. Continuous sparks were passed through the mixture of gases to simulate lightning. At the end of the first week, 15% of the carbon from methane had been converted to simple carbon compounds like amino acids, which make up protein molecules. And you know that proteins are very, very important biomolecules which constitute a living body. And thus, we got a proof of origin of life by the formation of amino acids in this experiment. So this is all in this video. With this, we come to the end of first part of lesson 9, Heredity and Evolution. Thank you for watching.